Hey YouTubers, and welcome back to another Dragon Ball Super discussion video. I am joined with none other, the one, the only, World King Kanji. Yes, I'm going to call you Kanji when we introduce, but Kanji throughout the entire video because that's just what I say. It's my good old Texan boy accent. So anyway guys, so you guys saw the title, you saw the thumbnail. Today we're going to be talking about Dragon Ball Super's inevitable return and what is its biggest problem going forward for the long-time fan base. And look, I know there's a lot of problems that need to be worked out when it comes to Dragon Ball Super. It's not a perfect show in any real sense of the word, but I really do believe that this, if they could figure out a way to solve it, would really make a lot of the fans happy, and that is side characters. They need to get their due. We need to see Gohan come back. We need to see Tenshinhan and Yamcha and Roshi and all the other people that they've introduced in Dragon Ball Super get at least some credence of story or power growth or whatever. I mean, I understand this is kind of a fighting show. You want to see people get upgrades and power-ups to put them on the same level as Goku and Vegeta and everybody else that we met in Dragon Ball Super, but I would be okay with just like a side story. These characters getting to see what they're doing in their lives, understanding that they're happy and they're moving forward and all this other stuff, and not just completely forgotten about in any sense of the word. I think that would be okay, but at the same time, we got Piccolo there, guys. Why can't Piccolo get some kind of major upgrade? Why can't Gohan at least sense that Broly is fighting on Earth somewhere, and then like we get him like, nah, I don't want to get into that any of that action or anything. Like Tenshinhan would have showed up too. I mean, obviously they can sense that Goku and Vegeta and even probably Frieza is fighting him and all that sense. But seriously, I do believe that this is one of the biggest issues Dragon Ball Super has when it finally does come back. And maybe here in this discussion, Kanji and I can talk about ways that they can fix this and under like ideas at least. So man, what are your thoughts on this just generally, and then we'll get into like the nitty gritty and we can talk about individual characters.
Yeah, so basically, I'm really behind the idea, and I have so many ways that they could upgrade these characters without actually making too much of a sort of long reach. So it is actually incredibly possible for them to fix very quickly any issues that they previously had. A lot of you out there most likely already kind of know what we might be touching base on here, but it's just there are so many possibilities that they could do, and it bothers us all as fans. It bothers us all that they haven't taken those sort of leaps yet. Tenshinhan, Piccolo, Krillin even, to be perfectly honest, if they can give huge power boosts randomly and completely basically unexplained to Android 17, they can do it to virtually anybody with a little bit of explanation. And I've got like hundreds of ideas to throw out there as soon as you're ready for.
Yeah, no, and you know what? Obviously we could talk about the human characters all day because they've been kind of irrelevant for the longest of times, but let's start with someone that I feel like a lot of people, or at least two characters I feel like a lot of people really want to discuss in a major way. First being Piccolo and then Gohan. So obviously, to me, I think Piccolo's the easiest here. I mean, without a doubt, hands down, because all you would need to do is explain more about the Namekian people. That's it. That's it. Like you have Super Saiyan gods, you have like all these transformations for Super Saiyans, and I know a lot of people be like, well, you could do the exact same thing for Gohan. He can have one of his rage boosts or whatever that puts him on the level of Goku and Vegeta and just everything else like that. But story-wise, especially with the whole Moro stuff coming on, and if they adapt that without actually doing the entire story, it'd be interesting to go into Namekian mythology. It would be interesting to meet the Namekians from Universe 6, because obviously maybe they didn't get wiped out by a drought or anything, and they have understanding of the Namekian Book of Legends or all this other stuff. Piccolo never going to stop training. He can get to a point where he's like, okay, I am on Goku and Vegeta's level, and I feel like a lot of fans, myself included, would just really mark out over that stuff. Like, oh my god, Piccolo is back, he's in action, and he's going to be fighting on the same level as Goku and Vegeta. Let's see more of that.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And I think another thing to think of is if they didn't go back into the mythology and just try and sort of extend the Namekian history and sort of delve more into that kind of thing, because they've already got the Dragon Clan Namekians, they've also got the Warrior Clan Namekians. There are so many different ways that they can just expand on those sort of backstories. However, there's a very more interesting one that I think is a possibility that could happen in the future, which is something more to the akin of Dragon Ball Super's writing, I think. But
Okay.
yeah, they had, of course, in the Universe 6 team on the Tournament of Power, they had the two Namekians there who had fused with the rest of their warrior race. So the rest of the warrior clan Namekians fused into them so that they could compete in the tournament at a higher standard. Now, we saw that they weren't exactly on par with some of the stronger characters, which is good. I mean, like, writing wise, that should be how it is theoretically. They shouldn't be as strong as a Super Saiyan 3. They shouldn't be as strong as Super Saiyan Blue. Bearing in mind all of that, if they were to fuse both of them with Piccolo to maybe fight some greater evil, Piccolo is a really, really powerful character. If they were to have him fuse with the other two, they could actually have him defend Namek. So basically, I think that would be a very useful kind of thing that they could do to link Universe 6 and 7 together, because it ties them together again, in a sense that we're like, twin universes. Let's work together to try and stop this thing, because as soon as Morrow finds out he can go to another universe and start absorbing all those planets, then, they're just as screwed as us.
No, like I like that idea too, and it does go with the mythology and everything that we've learned from Dragon Ball Z onward. I mean, that power up when Namekians fuse is amazing. I mean, look where Piccolo ended up after he fused with Nail. I mean, this guy got wreck shot by Nappa. I mean, obviously he trained a little bit, even though that's only an anime exclusive, and he didn't really train with everybody. And then he fuses with Nail, who also gets his disgustingly destroyed by Frieza, and then they fuse. It's like, oh my god, like he can go toe to toe with Frieza's second form. That's unreal. And putting all of that together, these two Namekians fusing with Piccolo, and him just being kind of an amalgam of the entirety of Universe 6's Namekians. I mean, they said that a lot of them fused. I'm not really sure. I'd have to go back and look, whether all of them fused. I'm not sure at all in that sense. But regardless, like, Piccolo has just like all of these entities in him, and is the fighting spirit for the Namekian people between two universes, and that, at least for a time, puts him on the same level as pretty much Goku, Vegeta, or whoever they're fighting, and he can have one of these last big character moments. I think that would be awesome. In fact, just figuring out a way to use more characters and have more group fights or just more warlike situations the same way they did with Goku and Trunks for fighting Zamasu and Goku Black, that would be really interesting. I think it would do the series well in the future, just to have those moments and be able to push up characters that we haven't seen in action for a very long time. Now, do you have any ideas about Gohan? I feel like it would be way too easy just to give Gohan another transformation or a god transformation or anything else like that, because he's a Saiyan, and this kind of goes for Trunks and Goten as well, maybe even Pan and Brawl once they get to a certain age in the television show. Because they're Saiyans, yeah, it's a little too easy to give those guys power-ups, and they can do it whenever they want, and we've seen them do that whenever they want. I don't find them as interesting, even though I want to see them fight in some major way sometime down the line.
Yeah, I think what they could do realistically, and what they most likely will do, is because as Super's kind of been trying to go in the way that a lot of people really wanted it to do, which is they wanted to sort of give certain characters unique power-ups, so it's sort of almost specific to them. I think there's quite a few people out there that have their own ideas about what these people might be sort of getting. So Vegeta, for instance, got Blue Evolution in the anime, and then of course in Goku kind of has the Blue Kaioken. And then we've got all sorts of different things we could do. If Piccolo were to have the fused Namekians sort of thing, it's because like the Namekians of Universe 6 weren't exactly key players. People aren't really raving to see more of their story. That's kind of all it was. So those becoming part of Piccolo is fine. As far as Gohan is concerned, I think really what they need to kind of do is delve more in this sort of, because this is only the beginning of the hybrid Saiyan race as far as Earthlings and Saiyans are sort of concerned. If they were to sort of head in their own direction and say, well, we don't really know what the limit of their power to the extent of it is, because we've never seen one before Gohan. And so what they were to do is sort of, Gohan keeps training in his own way. The humanity of the Earthlings sort of keep pulling him back from being so angry like the Saiyans can be. And you can introduce a hybrid Saiyan transformation, which is exclusive to the hybrid Saiyans, like Trunks, Pan, Goten, Bra, and Gohan. Anybody else?
Yeah, and those people and anybody else in the future. You're forgetting about Vegeta and Goku Jr.,
Of course, yeah.
obviously. But no, like I agree with that. I mean, one of the things that you could do, and I would, I might irk a little people or a couple people doing this, but I would say give it to Goten or Trunks, or maybe even Pan. By the time she grows up, like she gets this because she's more hybrid of all the hybrids. I mean, she's less her and Brawl kind of, and actually no, Pan would probably be the least amount of Saiyan, the most amount of human of all the hybrid Saiyans.
Well, if we're going by the way that GT displayed Vegeta Jr. and Goku Jr., she should be able to turn Super Saiyan effortlessly. No, there's a bear about to get strangled over there. No!
I mean, seriously, like the way that even the way that Dragon Ball Super used Pan is like she's already leagues and bounds above pretty much anyone. Like she's on Broly's level in terms of being a toddler who is like a couple of months old. No, seriously, like you have her, you give her this special transformation. I know a lot of people are going to hate it, but you could just easily throw it under the bus or under the rug, saying that yeah, it's because she's a hybrid and she's the most amount of the hybrid. Like she's more in tune with her human emotions and stuff, but she's able to tap into that Saiyan strength, so she gets this. And that way, Gohan can still have his ultimate form, Goten and Trunks can still have fusion, and all the other Saiyans can have like a unique form, including Pan. And then you don't have to go back and like, all of those fan drawings with Pan with Super Saiyan or something. They didn't know how to do her Super Saiyan form, so they never really did it. You just do something completely different. And maybe it's a little bit similar to Gohan's ultimate form, where she doesn't have to change hair, like it doesn't change color or anything else like that, but it's this amalgam of ultimate Super Saiyan and Super Saiyan God or something. You can kind of, you could have Bulma or someone throw a throwaway line saying like, yeah, maybe it's because like we did that ritual when Videl was pregnant and everything, and like that's how she has all this power, and that way all these Saiyans have a unique power up. But I agree with you, like the way that Dragon Ball Super handled its last arc, and I'm not even just talking about Piccolo or Saiyans anymore, but getting into humans with 17. Obviously, 17 was leagues in bounds, miles ahead of everybody else already, but the way that he had trained and how much he was getting like improving, he would have been a huge help against Majin Buu, but he never really came out of anywhere to help. But you could do the same thing with Krillin or 18 or Tenshinhan, maybe even Yamcha and Roshi sometime in the future, and it wouldn't feel that ridiculous. In fact, I would actually, out of all those people, I would say Roshi, because Roshi really held his own in the Tournament of Power, and it'd be really nice for Dragon Ball when it comes back to do more of that martial arts. I have to outthink my opponent fighting that we saw a lot more in the original Dragon Ball series than Dragon Ball Z, where it just became a slugfest, and it had everything to do with power levels and who was stronger than who and mind games and all this other stuff. You have Roshi there, obviously stronger than he's ever been, but using these techniques in order to outthink people like Moro or the Galactic Prisoners or whoever is the main threat of that given arc.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's also a completely different route you can take with it, because of course Dragon Ball Z did something very sort of unique at the beginning, which was sort of it was implied during Dragon Ball, but you never really saw it. Of course, in Dragon Ball, Krillin, Tenshinhan, Yamcha all kind of went off and did their own secret training. In Dragon Ball Z, at the very beginning, the first thing that happens is after Raditz attacks, is they get all invited to Kami's Lookout to go and train with Kami, which is what Goku had done in Dragon Ball. Now, if you were to do something like that, bearing in mind we've just had the threat of the Tournament of Power, we've also had the Universe 6 versus Universe 7 tournament, we've also had the impending threat of the Goku Black arc. It would not be far-fetched for Beerus and Whis to sit up there and go, you know what, apparently our universe had a very, very low mortal level. Let's raise some of the power levels of some of the people on Earth. Let's teach these humans that took part in the Tournament of Power God Ki. That way, you can have the humans that don't have to get a new transformation, but what they can do is activate God Ki, which is only really the same as what Guru did with like Krillin on Namek, where he unleashed his potential. You could do all of that kind of stuff in just a couple episodes, and it just all of a sudden bumps people up, not necessarily to the same level as Goku and Vegeta, but to a considerably higher power level where they can at least hold their own against some of the more previous threats. So all those things where they were getting ready to fight people in Resurrection F, when they had all of the Freezer soldiers attacking, it would have at least made more sense that they were all suddenly stronger than them, bearing in mind that Roshi couldn't defeat Raditz by himself, but now can beat soldiers that are stronger than Raditz. So,
Yeah, I mean, Roshi was the outlier there, obviously, because, I mean, Krillin and Gohan and Piccolo and all these other people, like, those guys were power level of like 1,000,
yeah,
and that's below Raditz. Like, that's really one of the things. I mean, I think they said that in Dragon Ball Super Broly too, where we're looking for people with over 1,000 battle level, and Frieza and everyone has already destroyed a whole lot of them in that universe, so it's kind of harder to find. But still, I agree with you. Like, I think one of the problems that they're going to have if they go down this route is you need to start creating villains that deserve like a stronger or have stronger henchmen. And for the longest time, that hasn't really been an issue in Dragon Ball. I mean, not since Namek has that been an issue, but you could easily rework the Moro arc now with the way it's going in the manga. You can easily rework all of that to be able to be like, okay, these prisoners escaped and they're very strong and they've been in captivity for hundreds of years, tens of years, whatever, and
a long,
they're
long
all out there.
time.
A long time. Yeah, and these guys are so powerful. Like, all of them are very powerful. It took a lot of man hours and a lot of the Galactic Patrol to push them away or put them away. And at this point, like Goku and Vegeta, maybe even Frieza and the Frieza Force, none of these people are going to be enough. Not even like Broly coming in and smashing everyone. There's just too many of them. They're widespread and all this other stuff. So all these people get, it's an arc, or you could play off that arc once you start adapting it into having Gohan and Piccolo and Krillin and Tenshinhan and Yamcha and Roshi and all these other people having to step up, and they go out, they fight these people, and it's a big power-up moment for all of these people. Like, maybe they've been training, maybe they have been, figuring out God Ki or something. I mean, that would be wacky, obviously, but it would be something to be like, oh yeah, you think you've beaten me? I have this up my sleeve, and now we get to see a big transformation or a big power boost or some explanation as to why these characters who should be kind of sitting on the side benches at this point in terms of the story and what we've seen thus far are able to compete with these stronger henchmen while Goku and Vegeta and anybody else on the front lines takes on Moro. That would be really interesting, and then you can keep doing that. You can keep recycling that story, and I think a lot of fans would find that really interesting because while they're not on the front lines, they're still doing something to help. I mean, there's a lot of hate for Fukkatsu no F, but even in the movie and the arc, just seeing our characters go through and fight the Frieza soldiers, that was interesting.
Yeah, that was
same
fun.
thing with
it was fun.
same.
But if I could,
No, it's just, no. And the same thing goes for the Tournament of Power. Seeing the characters come back and do something exciting for at least one episode was still fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. And just to back up a little bit on what you said a second ago, and you said it could be wacky if they were to sort of figure out God Ki and stuff. I mean, yes, it's sort of it would be, because it kind of makes the God Ki transformations a little bit less special. However, let's not overlook the fact that I don't really think it was ever mentioned that Jiren had God Ki, and yet he was above the level of some gods of destruction. So, really, is it really that kind of bizarre for Beerus and Whis to sit there and think, okay, right, well, Whiski's constantly looking for somebody to replace Beerus, as the running gag in the show is concerned. When Beerus kicks the bucket, who's going to be the next Hakaishin? If it was to be sort of just in a situation where they were like, okay, well, if we teach a lot of people how to utilize God Ki, they're still not going to be any threat to us, so they can't, like, fight us or anything like that, but they'll be better at holding their own, and given a situation, another tournament arises or something, or we have another sort of issue that we are going to be relying on a strong team of people, it really does turn them into Earth Special Forces, It really does turn them into Dragon Team. They are all of a sudden now even more strong than we had originally put them in a level above. But it puts them in sort of Mortal Kombat situations where, like, these are the saviors of Earthrealm and all this kind of stuff. And it makes sense to me personally because they're already way
No,
stronger than they should be.
yeah, no, they really are, and that would be really interesting. Like, if Dragon Ball, and this is kind of the last thing I'm going to say here, if Dragon Ball is going to do this, and it's strange to me that we're not taking advantage of the multiverse. Really very strange. Or the Super Dragon Balls, as it were, considering this is Dragon Ball Super now. If it's going to continuously be threats are going to come within Universe 7, or threats are going to come outside of Universe 7 but into Universe 7 for some unknown reason, which has pretty much been every story arc for Dragon Ball Super at this point. Outside of the Tournament of Power, which kind of took place outside of the realm of Universe 7, or just any realm in particular, and Universe 7 was the main threat, or at least the people who got to take out every single team. I think then it would make sense to create bigger threats. If it's going to be a threat coming from one universe or from Universe 7 or from another universe or something, create a bigger threat where it's not one individual but multiple. And that way Goku and Vegeta cannot handle it by themselves, and you need to bring in the characters that we've gotten to know and love. And this can continuously be a theme in the return of Dragon Ball Super, where you have an arc that does this for Gohan, Roshi, all of these characters that we know and love, and Universe 7's under attack, but the next one can kind of recycle and reutilize the exact same story elements, but they can go to Universe 6 and Hit and Kaba and Kale and Caulifla and all of these other things. We get to see what Dr. Rhoda, what his power magic is, or just all that other stuff. And Goku and Vegeta constantly needing help, and there being a major threat where it's not just these two guys can take care of it and everyone else can just kind of sit it out. Like, that to me as a fan is what made Dragon Ball Super less of an event than it really should have been. I mean, I still love it. I still had a whole lot of fun with it, but in terms of quality, I feel like a lot of people would have loved it. You know what's a really good example of this? I know this is starting to run a little bit long, but I really want to put this out there and have your thoughts and opinions on it, because I know you really like the Ginyu Force part of Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
I don't particularly like it, but there's this moment there when I was a kid that just felt like so much of a dick punch.
I know what you're about to say now.
Yeah. So Goku comes up, they're getting destroyed. He comes up, he takes on Raccoon, and he sits there, and it's Jason Bird, or Captain Ginyu's in the ether, but you know he can come back at a call from either of these guys, and Goku and Vegeta are sitting there. Gohan and Krillin are flying away, and Goku's just like, "Are you ready?" He's like, "Yeah." And I was like,
I'm right
at
behind
that
you.
time. Yeah, at that time, I think even in the day, like before the internet and everything, when that was playing in real time,
I was a hyped child for this scene. I was gyrating in my seat, high on candies.
I really think at that point, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I really think that was like the cut to cliffhanger moment, and then Vegeta just runs off in the next episode. But there was a good, like, solid, I don't even know when it hit. Like, if I was them, I would be like, this has to hit on a freaking Friday or something, and they have to wait the weekend for it, because Vegeta running off is just one of the worst things about Dragon Ball Z. Like, because I wanted that fight. I really, really wanted that fight to happen, where it's just these two guys. Vegeta's been healed. You know he has a Zenkai boost because they've been dick riding it that entire arc, and he's gonna fight these guys. It's gonna be awesome, and it never really came out. It never really got there. But I wanted that fight. I wanted that scene. And Dragon Ball Super needs more scenes like that, and they need to give. They have to give a reason for it. You know,
They can. It's so easily. Even in the Moro arc, is like Moro has the ability to convert planet energy into battle power for himself, magic energy, whatever they want to refer to it as for Moro specifically. If it's magic power, he could literally just grant it to somebody else. You know, he could literally just kind of transfer that energy to somebody. And therefore, it's not unfathomable nor unthinkable the idea that he could possibly actually power up his most trusted henchmen. But of course, they're all criminals, so who can he trust?
Uh-huh. and then you can do that same thing. I mean, that story arc could start on Earth. He doesn't have to go to New Namek, right? But he doesn't have to go alone. He doesn't have to go alone. He doesn't even have to go there. He just sends henchmen, and then we're doing a whole nother Saiyan arc into the Namekian arc with Frieza rehash. I mean, obviously it's a rehash, but I mean, with a different character, with different motivations, with a different power structure, and even his henchmen, as you said, if they're criminals, do they trust him? Are they really working for them? Are they afraid of him? Like, what is his stance? That would be really interesting. I really think that would be something we could all get behind, and everyone gets their shine for at least one arc. I mean, say what you will about the Buu arc. I know a lot of people don't like it, but having Gohan, Goten, Trunks, Piccolo, well, not so much Piccolo, but having like Goku and Vegeta and everybody have a moment, that's one of the best things about that arc.
Oh yeah, definitely. Piccolo looking back and saying about Vegeta's actually going to go to hell or not, like that's Piccolo's moment.
It's a superior moment. No, seriously, like that to me, that's one thing Dragon Ball Super is missing, and I know a lot of people wouldn't like that if it's like all these arcs are super extended just because they're giving old characters a little bit of shine and whatnot. But I would really love that, and I hope. This has been a much longer video than we put out in a very long time on this channel, but I felt like it really did deserve this type of discussion, just having a lot of fun. Kanji, thanks for coming in and talking about this with me. I know it's been way too long since you and I have done a discussion video, but it's always fun to do.
Oh, absolutely, man. I've been sitting here just sort of going like, yeah, we get to do a discussion video together again. I'm really happy for this. And it was a good one. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I hope you guys did as well. Like always, guys, go down to the description section below, and you'll find the links for my Twitter, Kanji's Twitter, and his YouTube channel, so you can go follow him, see his content, and get super hyped, especially if you're in the area for SeiCon. And I hope everyone's having a fantastic day. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell over by the subscriber button to notify you every single time I upload. It's been real.
Bye!